talk show host. Jack Myers, editor of the website MediaVillage.com, and Ann Trenolone, director of foreign policy for the Independent Women's Forum. All right, thanks to all of you for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, Michael, let me start with you again. I mean, why is everyone making this about what it's not? I mean, CBS is now making this about how much hard news they do, and we do more or less hard news, and this is about sexism, and isn't that really obscuring the issue?
Oh, it really is. It's funny to find out they're talking about sexism. Well, when you put Katie Couric on to try and draw a younger female audience, is that not in and of itself, sexism? When you think about it, Dan, I mean, the reality of it is you're trying to put a round peg in a square hole. Yeah. And they ought to put a news person there, not Katie Couric from the morning news. They tried that with Jane Pauley years ago with NBC. It didn't work out with Jane. It's not working out with Katie.
But it's not because of her news chops.
Nobody trusts Katie.
Michael, but it's not because of her news chops. I can tell you. Look, she has as good news chops as anyone. I think that the debate, Jack Myers, is focusing on the wrong issues. This old business about her news credibility, and she did the Today Show and this and that. Look, she's done a lot of reporting on a lot of important stories. That's not the point here, and I think Rick Kaplan is missing the point by trying to make it all about how much hard news they do, etc. I think that people in the news business have a tendency to be so defensive about the allegation that they're not doing only hard news.
I agree, Ron. You've got it exactly right. The issue is not whether Katie is good, bad, whether she's got news chops or not. The problem that CBS is confronting is the same problem that all the evening newscasts are confronting. The average age is over 60. They want to go with a younger audience. They can't get a younger audience without really dumbing down the news, which
but you can't get a younger audience, period.
I don't think you can if you go with the tabloid, if you go with Anna Nicole, and you go with Paris, at 6:30 at night, you're right, you're not going to get it.
That's right.
But you talk about up the news and going in that direction. Female in the world who's going to tart up the news is Katie Couric. So I think that's misleading, too. I think the issue is really that the evening newscast as a genre, whether it's Katie or Brian Williams or Charlie Gibson, is a trouble genre right now.
This is what Dan Rather said. That President Les Moonves took his comments about the CBS News out of context. Here he is on Fox News.
This isn't about Katie Couric. It's nothing to do with her gender. What it's about is their leadership at the very top of CBS. At one time, places like CBS they were the champions of hard news.
Ann, what do you think about this? To me, this is just the battle about who can say they're doing more hard news than the next person.
Well, Dan Rather's been beating that drum for quite some time, even before he left CBS. The thing is, did he frame his comments regarding Katie Couric in their best terms to say what he meant? Not necessarily, but that's kind of a Dan Rather trademark anyway. He basically has a valid point. That's where the news business is going.
But a valid point in terms of what? I mean, meaning if CBS makes the changes that Dan Rather is suggesting, you think that is therefore going to change, with Katie Couric as the anchor, that is going to change their fortunes at the CBS Evening News?
That's the gamble they took when they hired her.
No, but I'm asking you whether you think, you said that Dan Rather's right, and I'm asking you whether you think that if they took his advice and he chose the stories that Katie Couric reports on every night, that would change the fortunes of the CBS Evening News?
Not necessarily. She came in on the third horse, and it's going to take a while. They've been in third place for a long time. And what they do to attract younger viewers, I don't think you're ever going to get the youth culture to radiate to like the older people did.
Michael, do you want to get in?
Yeah, I think it comes down to something you don't want to talk about or they don't want to talk about. I think CBS lost the country a couple of years ago with Dan Rather. People do not trust CBS to give the news in a righteous way. And I don't think Katie Couric, because of her left-of-center opinions on the television show in the morning, coming to the news helps CBS. They should go with
politics get into
someone we haven't seen. What's that?
I don't understand, Michael, why politics is suddenly the issue
because
here.
Politics don't
We're
play.
talking about a 60-plus audience that is politically right of center that are newscasts. The reason Katie's audience is off is she's losing the reason Katie's audience is off is she's losing the 60-plus audience, maybe because she's a little left of center, but they're trying to go younger with a more contemporary audience.
People do not
hard
trust
news is not
CBS.
So Michael, just so we're clear, you're saying that Charlie Gibson is right of center and Brian Williams is right of center?
No, but Charlie Gibson, people trust Charlie Gibson. People trust ABC. They do not trust CBS. CBS has to earn back the trust of America that they lost under Dan Rather.
Look,
if Charlie Gibson moved to CBS, they'd be number one.
Oh, come on, look.
Well, and Bob Schieffer did very well.
Yeah, I mean, that's trying to
throw.
That's trying to
offer the whitest male who gets the highest ratings.
It's offering a political explanation. Wait, it's offering a political explanation for the fact that Dan Rather leaves, right? Dan Rather leaves, the ratings go up, or stay the same at least, with Bob Schieffer. Schieffer then leaves, and then the ratings go way down. Again, I'm not necessarily blaming Katie, but to somehow suggest that Dan Rather's politics led later on to this sort of delayed response to the ratings going down at CBS makes no sense.
Well, it does. Katie Couric, it's a very left of center since on her morning show when they moved to Earl.
You were blaming Dan Rather a minute ago.
You did not bring it.
Wait, are you blaming Dan Rather or are you blaming Katie Couric?
Dan Rather began the process of CBS losing faith with the American people. Bringing Katie in did not gain that back. Bob Schieffer is a newsman and is trusted, but again, everybody knew he was a short-termer, not a long-termer because of Katie Couric. Nobody likes Katie Couric in that position.
Jack, as someone who focuses on the media, do you think it matters that Rick Kaplan previously made comments? He's now really going after Dan Rather, and he's going after him hard.
Yeah.
He's really basically saying he should move on with his life, etc. Here's what Rick, our former boss, said about Rather in 2005.
Dan was meticulously careful to be fair and balanced and accurate. His legacy as he practiced then is the gold standard journalists today have struggled to live up to.
And then this is what Rick Kaplan said about Dan today. This is someone who should go through his life quietly.
Well, Rick made a serious error, I think, of judgment in going after Dan instead of using the opportunity to promote Katie. One of the things Les Moonves said yesterday was he can't believe the vituperative reaction to Katie and how much dislike and negative reaction there is to her. I think this is an opportunity to get America supporting Katie and to use her. But again, I think he also made a tactical mistake saying that we're focused on hard news. That's not the way to draw the younger viewers. Keep in mind that Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert are doing very well in delivering news to a younger audience. CBS needs to change the format, and they need to find a way to do it with Katie. I expect, though, that they'll bring in a male co-anchor in the next 6 months.
Do you think, bottom line, were you offended by Rather's comment about tarting it up?
Well, you have to take Dan Rather's comments with kind of a grain of salt. Remember, he is being a Ratherism and has been so epitomized in Saturday Night Live skits for.
So you forgive him?
Yeah, I will. I mean, in a culture where we use "pimp my ride" is a common sentence, tarting up is not that big of a deal. The thing is, no one here has even mentioned the internet. None of these young people who these networks want to go after get their news from the evening news. Yeah. So they get things different ways, and people are going to have to start thinking outside the box to find them.
Yeah. We all believe me. We all know this. I mean, this is the ongoing struggle. But the question is whether these guys ought to be going at it like this publicly over this at this time.
Well, they're getting good press.
Yeah, I guess good or bad press.
It was Joe that asked the question.
Jack, 10 seconds.
I think Dan Rather doesn't like being out of the spotlight. He's a wordsmith. He chose his words carefully, and he delivered them.
Michael Reagan,
and I don't think he should be allowed.
And Trenolone, thanks a lot. Up next, apparently the folks